Hey, my name is Kat. I'm a California CPA. In this video, I'll show you an overview of a Drake tax software.
Alright guys, so let's start. I just created a file in a partnership, a brand new partnership tax return in Drake. And here I have an example of 2021. So for me, it's a prior year. Form 1065 for partnership tax return. For a partnership, I will be preparing for the tax return for 2022. So I'll be using prior year tax return to get basic information, as this partnership is new for me. So for example, we'll start with the first page of 1065, where we can get basic information. So we'll start, of course, with a partnership name. And we'll just move forward. Then we need to get address. Need to make sure the address didn't change since last year. So we enter in address, zip code. We already have EIN number. So what is important from this page? So basically, address is important. Then principal business activity is important. So I'm going to enter that next. If this is a first year filing tax return, we need to ask client for what they do. So we can enter this information here. And for business code number, usually that's something we can, like scroll down and like try to find the code, or we can, what I usually do, I go to instructions for 1065 and I just search basically what they have. So here we have a, I think we have a limit of how many like letters we can use. So I'll just use investment instead of putting investment service. But basically this question is asking if it's a product or service. So if you can just put investments, well, I guess I'll just put investment service. So I'll make it shorter. But it's just enough to put product or service in this field. We don't have to put like lots of details. And here we kind of need to describe what business does. So it's the first year we kind of need to ask. And for business code, I suggest searching for searching in the instructions and obviously asking what clients do. For date business started, we just copy from there and enter it here. So the next one would be total asset. That's something we don't copy because we will use 2020 information when we enter it. How many partners the client have. So this one says 4. And so this is something we don't enter. We just enter key once later. And for accounting methods, they say accrual. So we just put accrual here. If it's a first year filing tax return, we need to check initial return here, or final return right here, or amended. If there's anything like if you need to change address or a name change, here we have those applicable boxes. All right, so let's see. So we got address, we got principal activities, we got EIN, business started. And that's kind of all we need from this page. All other information is irrelevant because we will use 2022 information instead. So when I scroll down to page number 2, that's just something also important for me, is that it's domestic limited liability company. If it's a first year filing, we just need to know if it's, limited partnership or limited company. So we need to check this box. So let me find this box in here. So to find Schedule B, we go to Schedule B, other information, and just check the box applicable. So for us, I think it's domestic LLC, domestic limited liability company. Awesome. Then it has a question if any domestic corporation or partnerships owns more than 50%. So this one says yes. If yes, please attach Schedule B1. So we're just gonna go and look what information it has, because it seems like they had it last year, so they probably will have it this year. And also the same for individual. Is any individual had interest for 50% or more? So this one says yes as well. So we probably will see Schedule B1 that has a company and individuals and owns more than 50%. Interesting. It's also this. So we kind of like look at those questions and try to duplicate them as things. I mean, unless they change, there's something that clients will tell us. We'll just duplicate the prior year. This one says that does the partnership satisfy all four? So partnership total receipts less than 250K, assets less than $1 million. So they said yes. So in examples like this, we don't really have to, we don't require to fill up Schedule L, M1 or M2. But so this one, for example, we don't require to fill them up, but I think client did fill them up last year. So when I scroll down to Schedule L, M1, I see they did fill it up, but it's not mandatory. So that's just something they wanted to do. So we'll follow the same approach. But if we have to decide if we need to fill it up or not, usually the answer would be no, because they're under a threshold for filling up those schedules. Let's see what else is interesting. So I'm kind of just going through answer, looking if there's something stands out to me, because majority of them should be no by default. Here is like name of representatives, the one that signs off on tax returns. So I made up all this information. So it has to do something with like, this one is like Jake White, a musician. So don't pay attention to names. Well, so let me scroll down and let's see what's going on. So this is Schedule L. So that's information we also need to copy because they prepared it last year. I think the client would like to see it this year as well. So we'll use this information. I see they had cost of goods sold. So that's important to remember when we will enter information from profit and loss. And here our Schedule B1 that I was just talking about. So it says that one owns 63%, another owns 77%, but I think the percentage, so I think this is probably profit and loss, and this might be capital. So that's why they included both of those partners here. So we have to do the same. So Schedule B1 needs to be filed if any client owns more than any partner owns more than 50% of profit or loss or capital. So when we scroll down to K1s, we can see that this corporation has 79% of capital, and that's what they mentioned in the Schedule B1. And this guy, Jack White, so Jack White owns 79% of capital, and another business, a corporation, an LLC, owns 63% of profit and loss. And that's something we have to do to add to Schedule B1. In order to do that, to add information under Schedule B1, we go under B1 section, Schedule B1, and here we have to enter information similar to what we have on Schedule B1. So on top of it, it says 2A, right? Question 2A, and here it says question 2B right here. So we just copy information. So we enter company's name of the entity, EIN, type of entity, country of organization, and percentage. So I'm just going to copy and paste this information right now. All right, so the information is entered, so I can move on to another thing. So what would be next? The next important, so we already entered information from 1065, page 1, page 2. We looked at the answers on page 3. This is just current information, so we don't really need to do anything. So the next things would be our balance sheet. So we do need to copy end of tax year on a prior year tax return to be a beginning of the tax year for current year. So for example, here we had cash. So we kind of just go through all of them and just copy. So for intangible assets, we need to enter them under depreciation because I see there is certain things haven't been depreciated yet. So I'm just scrolling down to amortization or depreciation report. In our case, it's it's depreciation and amortization report, but it's for amortization. So I need to enter this information under their depreciation schedule. So the depreciation shows up next year. So I'll start with that. So in order to add asset to depreciation schedule, I go under or assets. It can be here under assets, and we can find depreciation details items, or we can go under general, deductions, and we'll have depreciation section here in form 4562. It doesn't really matter how we do it. Here on top of it, it is asking us if it should be under cost of goods sold or form text 65 or schedule F or any of those forms. So the majority of them will be under form text 1065. If you're not sure about it, we can take a look last year. So like right here, we have form 1065 filled up, so it's probably will go under 1065. And I'm pretty sure this statement 1 has amortization in it. Sorry, that might take a while, so I'm just gonna scroll down. So yeah, we have amortization expense right here. So that means it was going under form 1065. Yeah, so let me start with copying the information and adding the asset. So they amortized startup cost from probably inception. So we just need to copy the same information, date acquired from 2018, cost, and then they have a method which says, so they amortize over 180 months, which is usually what for how long we amortize like a startup cost, which is 5 years. So we need to find 180 months. Sorry, this one. So we can't really do comma. We need to add like just regular number. So let's see. Let's find a method here. And one of them should say amortization, and here we just add life. So it's 180 months for us. All right. So let me check. Maybe I need to replace this one with years, but I'll get back to you in a second. Let me just see how this tax software does it. So for a prior year, let's see. So basis for depreciation is our cost. This is accumulated depreciation, and this is current year amortization deduction. So for us, we need to enter prior year amortization. So it will be summary of prior year beginning accumulated in our case amortization plus current year deduction. So accumulated depreciation, this amount will be our beginning prior year amortization. As I just entered prior year amortization in our case right here, and also the code section for amortization, which exactly the same as last year, and in our case it has the same naming, so it's organizational cost for partnership. Okay, cool. So let's see. So now we're going back to our balance sheet. We're going back to our balance sheet and finish entering all this information from prior year. So let's just do intangible assets, accumulated amortization, and let's see what else. So they have other current liabilities, statement 4. So that's information we need. Other deduction, other current liabilities. So we'll enter it the same way. So for like credit cards, they had under other current liabilities right here. they had credit cards, and this will be beginning. For 6. So I'm seeing that it doesn't show up here after I entered. So when I go back, there is a way here to choose other current liabilities, and now it should show up. Other current liabilities. I think it should show up right here. So I'm not sure why it doesn't show up, so I'm just gonna check if it's going on a schedule or not. So I just added the partner capital account right here. And for now, because I don't think Schedule L is required because they had less than 250K in gross receipts and less than 1 mil in assets, I'm just gonna force Schedule L to print. So when I go to forms, I see, yeah, it shows up right here what I just entered, and looks like this thing has to tie to our prior year ending, should tie to our current year beginning. So we have 782, 15,247, all this kind of stuff. Awesome. This is really good. What is also important right here, we need this Schedule M2 analysis of partner capital accounts. So we need this year-end balance that is exactly the same as right here. We need to enter it as a beginning this year. So we can go to, so it will just take us where we can enter that information, which for some reason it doesn't, but let me just find where I can enter it. Yeah, so for some reason, I mean, I kind of know what the reason is. It doesn't let me add it right here. And when I go to partner capital, it doesn't let me to add it here at the beginning, but I do know why. I think it's because we need to enter it separately for each partner. So when we go to Schedule K1, which is partner's portion of profit and losses, it has beginning balance for each of the partners. So I think we need to enter it for each partner and then it adds up. All right, so now we're, the next part would be to enter partners information. So to do that, we go to this section, Schedule K1, partners information, and we just enter partner's name, check, white. Just gonna enter any profit and loss. I'm gonna copy from, sorry, I lost my K1. From here, the same for capital. I'm so sorry, we actually copy an ending, so that will be our beginning. In our case, it's the same, so I didn't really pay attention, but ending is, that's what we need. Beginning capital as well. And type of the partner, which is, sorry, my bad, individual. And the type of partner we can find here. So then we scroll down. Also, something we need to enter, and I'll add it later, is the address. That's what we get from their K1. The same for entity. Now we're entering entity. Oops. And also we enter their percentages. I'm sorry, from ending is 6. And their capital. I'm sorry, I made a mistake on the previous. So we enter only ending information. That will be our beginning. And I just caught myself that I copied, and this one will be partnership, that I copied beginning capital on this form. So obviously when I start working on the returns, that's not gonna reconcile. So be careful, make sure from prior year we only copy beginning. Okay, so we entered this one. Alrighty, so we enter all the information. So now the Schedule K1 should be produced for our partnership tax return. Here they are. And if you go to 1065 page 5, I was talking that I was not able to enter capital. Here it is. It's our beginning capital, and it ties to partner capital accounts line 21 on schedule L1. Awesome. So this is it for prior year tax return. This is all we needed to enter, which we did. I'm just going to leave it as is and enter current year information. Here we have a couple diagnostics that I probably will need prior year tax return to clear, but for now I'm just gonna leave it as is until I enter current year information. So for now I'm switching to zero financials.
Thank you for watching my video. Just a quick interruption. I'm sorry. Just to tell you that I do sell online courses. So if you go to my website, remotecpanla.com, it will give you more information about online courses that I sell and what I teach, and with more information about me, agenda, on what we do. We have a weekly calls. We go over the different kind of issues or problems we can have in a tax software. So in the end of this 1 month course, you'll be able to prepare like a complex tax return in any tax software you choose. Thank you again. Please continue watching my video. Hey guys, so I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to tell you that I do sell the online courses on a different tax preparation. So if you go to my website, remotecpanla.com, it will give you more information about what kind of tax softwares I'm specializing in, agenda about our online course. And so we have like a weekly meetings. We like in the end of that course, you'll be able to learn to do like a super complex tax return in the tax software you choose. Thank you so much. Please keep watching. Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to tell you that I do sell online courses. Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt my video. I just want to say that I do sell online courses on different tax preparation software. So if you go to my website, Remote CPA in LA, it will give you more information about tax softwares that I'm specializing in, more information about me, and then content for agenda for online course. So it's a 1 month course, and we go over all topics that are here. And weekly we have our calls, group calls, and in the end of the course you would be able to prepare a complex tax return in the software you choose. All right, sorry to interrupt. Keep watching your video, please.
All right, so now as we recorded, entered all the information needed for tax return, we need to enter 2022 information. So current year tax return confirmation information. So I pulled up the financials, profit and loss, and balance sheet. Sometimes I would like to have a general ledger as well, so I can compare certain items on balance sheet. So let's say if you did have a certain, well, we do have some assets, but if it changed since last year, I would like to see what changed, but I can see that it hasn't changed, so that's fine. I don't really need general ledger. So I'm just gonna enter it the same way as it is. All right, so what I already see is that amortization is not recorded for 2022, but we're just going to pass on it as it's not as important. The reason why I see it because this number is the same as end of 22 as it was end of 2021, so it should be higher, but that's fine. We're just gonna pass on it for purposes of this video. Second one, what I do on balance sheet, I kind of want to double check that retained earnings tie. So what I do, I take this number from 2021 tax return as beginning retained earnings from the tax return, not from financials. I add 2021 income from our profit and loss. And if we have any distributions, we deduct distributions, or add capital contributions, and then here's our retained earnings calculated according to prior year tax return, and then I compare it to our retained earnings on our financials, and I just want to make sure it ties. If it doesn't tie, it means we need probably to add some contribution distributions, or it might be some kind of discrepancy. Anyway, so it ties, so this one will be pretty easy. So we'll start with profit and loss statements. We go to, we go to income section. And here's our gross receipts. I'm sorry. I think I need to make sure I don't have any additional symbols. So what I will do next, I'm just gonna enter bank charges under other expenses, dues and subscriptions under other expenses. So we go to deductions, and so pretty much we enter all the things here. If we have any section for expenses here, we enter it here. If it's not, we enter under other deduction. So like, for example, bank charges. We do have bank charges option right here. So I just enter it here. It's not, so on 1065, it doesn't really have a line for bank charges, so it all will be summarized under other expenses anyways, but the Drake tax software just give us a luxury of having all these categories, so we don't have to type each expense, but will be grouped under other expenses, under deductions. What will show up under Form 1065 are salaries and wages, guarantee payments, repairs, all this kind of like whatever we have in here will show up in here. And also I think statement already should have amortization expense, right? It's right here, 127. All right, so what I will do now, I'm just gonna enter all the deductions. So for example, like dues and subscription, it's probably also here. Let's see, dues and subscription. It might or might not be. So we just look for like for dues and subscription. It's right here too. Awesome. So I'm just gonna enter it as well. And I just want to show you like how like guarantee payment is actually showing up on page. Guarantee payments for services. It's actually showing up on page 1065 as a separate line. So it's right here. Everything else will be under other deductions. So I just went ahead and entered office supplies, travel, and utilities, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And I went under office expense, travel, and utilities. And then I usually double check myself after all expenses are entered. So I'm I'm hoping to see this as a net income right here, ordinary business income, but it's a little bit less. I do remember that it's a little bit lower because of amortization. So when we go under, under statement, there is amortization of 127. Amortization. So my net income will be actually 2718. So yeah, so my net income per tax return should be 3,000 loss 3,000 rounded 3,117. So this ties. Another number that should tie is our Schedule M1, reconciliation of income and losses. So this amount should tie, which it does perfectly. Now I'm looking at balance sheet. So I already see that actually really cool that here's my beginning retained earnings. It will be a little bit, so here's the thing. If something is missing here for book expenses, we kind of need to add it here as well. So what I usually do, I add the column and I add like book adjustment. And I do the same for P&L if P&L is presented in a norm adjusted. If P&L is presented is like in a normal way like this, I do exactly the same, so it's easier to see. So I do like per books, then book adjustment and adjusted book numbers. So what is our adjustment will be? Our adjustment is actually would be, we need to adjust accumulated amortization. So I can just type it or I can go here. So because accumulated amortization got higher, it will be like bigger amount. Everything else stays the same. And I just kind of like do that for everything except my formulas. So let me just kind of edit first. All right, so now my total assets change. It will be a little bit less because we took this additional depreciation. And we need to do the same in here because if, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna like finish this setup so it's easier to see. So for our total assets should equal total liabilities and equities. So now it doesn't tie because we added this accumulated amortization right here. As it also, you can see our book income actually doesn't tie to tax return because it should be this amount with amortization. So what we do, we also need to add this adjustment in here. So now our book income ties to our tax return and our liabilities, total assets and total liabilities and equities ties as well. Okay, perfect. So now we go ahead and go to, now we go to assets and liabilities and we finish our balance sheet. So, and I start with cash. What else is here? Then we have those things that I'm just going to skip for now because I think it should automatically flow from depreciation schedule. And then we have our credit card liabilities. No, this is something else. Let's see. This is credit cards. Yeah, that's right. So this is our credit card liabilities. So I go under screen 2 and enter this information. And remember, we can't really do commas, so I just need to get rid of it. Okay, awesome. So now, seems like we should be okay. Yeah, we should be okay. Let's go to View and Print. And take a look what we have under Schedule L. Okay, perfect. So we have this cash. We have, so those things change. You see it flow from a depreciation schedule because we entered amortization already. So total assets is the same as we have it here, 15,737. We entered current liabilities and then return earnings are calculated automatically. We don't have to enter it. All right, so as for me, our tax return looks pretty good right now. So we have this first page of 1065, second page that we already entered Schedule B1. This one will say yes as well, but we'll still force to print Schedule L, M1 and M2 as it was last year. Here's our Schedule K that has 2022 information. Our balance sheet reconciles, so that it's important. Schedule B1 is entered. Here's to Schedule K, and it has the allocation for each item that we had on schedule on the tax return. The same for second partner. So now my next step would be clearing diagnostics. So I already know there are certain things I didn't enter, like let's say addresses right here. And so it will all show up on those sections. So I'll just go one by one and clear them. That's not going to be like a lot. And also, let me see. So that's one of the ways. I'm not going to touch state for this purposes. I'm just looking at federal. Another way to look at diagnostic is to click calculate here. and it will show up all the diagnostics here as well. So I just need to go through all of them. I'll record a separate video how to clear diagnostics and how to prepare a return for e-filing. Thank you so much. Hope that was helpful.
Well, I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below or email any questions you have to me. And thank you for watching my video.